Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
Well, we took a little bit of a break, and we're kind of coming off of that break because there's a whole lot going on at Oklahoma right now.
A whole lot going on today for sure.
But one of the things, we want you to hit your subscribe button, whatever you're listening to, watching. Subscribe, follow on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, wherever you're listening to us at right now. Check out our new blog on our website at www.soonerfootballfans.com. And as always, remember, we are not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma.
But we do have eligibility left.
That is correct. So, Rob.
Sir.
First off, let's talk about what you and I discussed last year when we first started this podcast. One of the things, I don't remember if you remember us having this conversation. I'm sure you do.
Something about us hating Texas?
Well, yeah, that's always a given, of course. But it is, remember I said that year one and year two with Lincoln Riley really wasn't my concern. I wanted to see how well Lincoln could coach in year 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, here we are. Coming up on year 3, we've got firing of Mike Stoops and a hiring of Coach Grinch. Mm-hmm. We've got Austin Kendall putting his name in the transfer portal. We've got Jalen Hurts putting his name in the transfer portal.
Don't forget Dan the Tailgater.
Yeah, he is in the transfer. There's a lot going on, and I want to talk about, first off, the defense.
Okay. Kerry Cooks is gone, by the way.
Yeah, Kerry Cooks is gone. Tim Kish is gone.
Yep.
But 2 years with Lincoln Riley as head coach at Oklahoma. He's 24-4.
Not bad.
2 Big 12 titles.
Getting better.
2 playoff appearances.
Not bad.
2 top 5 finishes.
Pretty good.
2 Heisman Trophy winners.
Outstanding.
But 2 playoff losses / bowl losses.
Well, I mean.
So far he has gotten us to the promised land, but not over the promised land wall.
I know. There's a whole discussion out there, Terry, about, well, if we're going to go to the playoff and just lose, then I don't want to go to the playoff. Well, I have to disagree with that. I mean, I would rather make it to the playoffs and lose than not make the playoffs. Even though, I mean, if we was to have gone to the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or some other bowl this year and, just thumped some team, that would have been, good. That would have felt good.
Right.
But being one of the Final Four has its own prestige.
Right.
That making any other bowl doesn't have. So, I mean, yeah, I would still rather make it and lose than to go and play somebody in the I don't care bowl.
I completely agree. We've got to be in the talk and in there almost every year. We need to be in there every year. Obviously Alabama and Clemson lead all teams of getting there, but right behind them is Oklahoma. I think what's frustrating for us as fans, yourself, me, everybody else, is it'd be nice to get to the title game. We're losing that.
Mm-hmm.
We're 0-3. And Clemson, the first game, we got dominated, in the Orange Bowl several years ago.
Yep.
Georgia should have won that game. Oklahoma, we got dominated Alabama, we got dominated for a quarter and 2 minutes, something like that. And then woke up and decided, oh, hey, we're supposed to be playing a game here. But I bring that up because the moves have been obvious what needed to be done. We were shocked last year when Mike Stoops wasn't fired.
A little bit.
Maybe not fired, but said, Mike, you need to go find something else.
Well, and I think we talked about it too. Had Bob Stoops not been the prior coach, I'm pretty sure that Mike would have lost his job.
That would have happened. But, so here we are basically in 2019 talking about the same things we were talking about in 2018 after the Rose Bowl. is we've got defensive problems. Who's the quarterback going to be? And to add to that, too, we're losing 4 out of 5 offensive linemen this year on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, what do you think has to be done? What does Grinch got to do? What do we want to see done immediately, right now?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to look at is the game against Alabama. Yes, the first quarter was bad.
Right.
But 2, 3, and 4, pretty good.
Yeah.
In fact, if we play the first quarter like we played 2, 3, or 4, we may win that ball game.
Right.
So I think the defense is getting better. I know that there's a whole lot of people out there that would just laugh at me for saying that, but I really just feel like the defense is getting better. I know that right now the numbers don't bear that out, but from the eye test that I can see, they were in positions, they were in holes, starting in the second quarter.
Right.
I don't know what I can't explain the first quarter. They were out of place. They were out of position. We were gashed. Receivers were open. But in my opinion, the second, third, and fourth quarters, the defense looked like a totally different defense than it did in that first quarter. So,
well, I agree with you. I mean, they put us in a position. They put us in a position that we could come back. I think in the fourth quarter, again, we needed stops that we didn't get. But what I'm thinking that needs to be done, just my opinion, number one, is we've hired a new defensive coordinator. They need to fire the rest of the defensive staff.
Oh, I agree.
Because this defensive staff has gotten worse over the last 3 years. And, Coach Kish stepped down, retired. And I was reading something and listening on the radio the other day of, maybe what they're playing it is let these coaches find somewhere to land, like Coach Cooks lands at Texas Tech. Okay.
Oh, is that where he went?
Yeah, he went to Texas Tech as the safeties coach. Okay, that's not a better job than Oklahoma. So he was looking for a job. Yeah. He needs a job. He needs to feed his family.
I mean, it's not rocket science or brain surgery. Or brain science or rocket surgery. I mean, if you have the worst defense in the nation, you're probably going to be looking for a job. I mean, it's pretty plain and simple, don't you think?
I think Lincoln's probably had that discussion with all of them. It might be best. We got a new defensive coordinator. Cooks, I mean, the recruiting and stuff, but our defensive backfield was terrible the last 2 years.
Well, you can't bring up recruiting because if
you can't coach what you brought in,
right? If you can't coach what's brought in, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, in my opinion, I agree with you. Coach Grinch needs to come in here and clean house. Now, if he wants to keep somebody, Calvin Thibodeau or somebody like that, I'm fine with it. I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing, but if he wants to clean house,
right?
And if I'm LR, if I'm Lee Riley, I say you do what you want, man.
Yeah, do it. I mean, you let Lincoln Riley let your coaches coach. If he says, this is a completely different scheme, a completely different, maybe not scheme, but a mentality of defense. We're talking about a guy who pushes speed, turnovers. He understands, Grinch does, because he coached with Leach. What his job was with Leach is to get off the field, get the offense the ball back. Now everybody's like, well, duh, that's what a defensive job is. When you got an offense like this, your job maybe isn't to have the number 2 ranked defense in the country. It is a simple fact of we're going to be fast. We're going to get out there and get back off the field. So get the key element of our team back on.
Terry, but the caveat is there. Okay, Grinch, you come in, you do whatever you want, but we have got to be better.
Oh, yeah.
Defensively. That caveat is there.
Yeah.
If he comes in and we're in the triple digits again,
yeah,
he's not going to last long.
He's not going to last long. And, fans aren't going to let him last long. I mean, it's a simple fact of it's been glaring at Oklahoma for the last several years, even when Bob was here. I mean, the defense, there's been, for years, several years now, there's been fire Mike Stoops. Why aren't we firing? It's his brother, la, 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 la. And it finally happened, and now we've got a coach in here, and it's not, Lincoln said when they got rid of, when he did fire Mike Stoops, in the press conference the next day was, hey, it wasn't all Mike's fault. We all have a hand in this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, players and coaches, you know, I mean, we've got to do better. Well, the coaches are that aspect of it too. I mean, we have not developed defensive players for the last 4 or 5 years, a defensive mentality. You know, watching the Clemson-Alabama game, do you know what glared out at me about Clemson and their defense?
That defensive line?
They tackled.
Oh.
I mean, and I know that sounds, I mean, I'm not just saying, hey, they tackled. There were plays, Rob, I was watching, and I even rewound. I'm sitting in here in the podcast palace by myself watching the game, and I rewound some of it. You know, Clemson guys had a, you know, hit, you know, waist high, wrapped up. Well, Alabama, they're good athletes. You know, they start twist. They don't go down immediately. And the Clemson guys slide down the legs, get around the ankle, and they still got to hold and pull the legs up and tackle. Basic, fundamental football. And this defensive staff that is there, that has been there the last couple of years, has not developed that type of mentality of attacking, wrapping up, bringing a guy down to the ground.
Yeah, to the point where, for instance, today, Rhett and I were driving by the campus, and we drove right through Heisman Park.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, man, it's crazy. We're going to add 2 more Heisman trophies out here. And Rhett looked at me and he said, what's crazy is 20 years from now, we're going to look back at these last 2 and say, can you believe that we had back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners? And I said, you know what? It's going to be fouled or dimmed by the fact that people are going to go, yeah, they wasted 2 Heisman, you know, winning quarterbacks and actually 2 national championship caliber offenses those years. You know,
that's my deal is the championship offenses, because that was talked about last year and this year. Is with, you know, this defense, Oklahoma is wasting some of the best offensive firepower that any team has ever had.
For sure. I mean, we put up points on Alabama, and really I think we came out real nervous and real tight. We could have put up more on them if that first quarter had not been so stupid.
Yeah.
You know, just But I mean, this year was definitely, and last year, a championship caliber offense that we just wasted.
Because our defense couldn't, you know, and you know, again, this is just like last year after the Georgia game, is we can sit back here and go, man, if they could have just got one stop, you know, or if they just could have got, you know, held them to, you know, 14 points in the first quarter, you know, or only gave up a 14-0 lead,
right?
You know, if we just get out of that at 14-0 in the first, you know, because it was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. If we get out of that quarter 14-0, that ball game comes down to a field goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that's what we as fans are stuck with, sitting here going for another 12 months or 9 months, I guess, of going, golly.
Just like last year.
Yeah.
If we could just make one stop in that last drive of the Georgia game, we win the Rose Bowl, but no, we can't do it. So.
And now here we are with the same type of discussions that we had last year, but I think they're a little bit more deeper. Number one, as good as Bedenbaugh is, he's got to replace 4 starters off of the best offensive line in the country from last year. Not that I don't think he can do it, and that he's already working on it. We're replacing a defensive coordinator who has to get a staff in here and start teaching and developing these players to play in that scheme and that mentality that he has. Now we got a quarterback deal, which was most of us set back going, well, you know, it's going to come down, you know, most of us would believe that Austin Kendall was the favorite, you know, because Lincoln said it was very difficult to decide between these two. And then, you know, we got Tanner Mordecai,
who's pretty good in his own right.
And then we've got the freshman coming in, Spencer
who broke
Rattler.
Every Arizona high school record.
Right. Now you've got Austin Kendall, the favorite to be the quarterback, put his name in the transfer portal. What happened? Why is this guy last week drop his name in the hat out there? Do you think he was talked to?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that he feels like Jalen Hurts is coming here. that he's going to transfer here.
Yeah, because it's to me, it's not coincidence that Jalen Hurts enters the portal, and then I guess the day after is when it came out that Austin has put his name in there.
Yeah.
Is that a situation where Lincoln went to him and said, "Hey, we're going to talk to this guy," and he goes,
"Well, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's a really good possibility that Jalen Hurts reached out to Lincoln Riley before he ever put his name in the transfer portal and said, "Hey,
are you
I'm
interested?
getting ready to do this. Are you interested?" And then Lincoln Riley probably said, "Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you be?"
Exactly.
And then went to Austin Kendall and said, "Hey, I just want you to know this is happening."
And then Austin goes, "That hurts my feelings."
Well, maybe.
And I don't blame him. I mean, I can understand it. I'm not saying anything negative about.
Yeah. You got to feel like Lincoln Riley probably said, "Hey, listen, Austin, you're really good. You can beat him out. I mean, don't go. You can stay and beat him out."
But
but he is a fifth-year senior, and he's pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? Sooner fans out there, I put out a poll on our Twitter. They're split, but of course this was before that Austin put his name in the hat. It was like we had like 700 votes, and it was like 51-49 for Hurts coming to Oklahoma. But there were some comments on it is, hey, me and a guy had a discussion too, was, hey, Austin Kendall has put in his time. If he goes and talks to Hurts, Austin could want to leave. That's not fair to him. And I get that, but also Lincoln Riley's job in Oklahoma is to win games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that he's not interested in Jalen Hurts, you're crazy, because this is a guy who's played for two very good offenses. He took two of these very good offenses.
He's been there
to the national title game, lost one, and got pulled in the one they won. But then again, came in this year in the SEC title game.
Right.
If it wasn't for him,
they would have lost.
Alabama would have lost.
Let me ask you. Let's pause this conversation right here. Let me ask you this: do you think Kyler Murray in the first quarter of that game was just as nervous as a cat on a tin roof?
Yeah,
absolutely he was. It's because this is the first time Kyler's been in that spotlight. If we get there next year and Jalen Hurts is the captain of the ship,
he's been there for 3 years.
Right.
He's been there.
So I'm not saying that he's as good as Kyler, because I definitely do not think
he's not.
And in fact, I want to say this while we're on the subject. I think that game against Alabama proved that Kyler was the head and shoulders winner, above Tua Tagovailoa, whatever. And I think that game proved it out. I think Kyler is that much better, and it showed out on the field. Yeah,
let's face it. Their offense, came out and scored those points, but it was Alabama's defense, which they came out and they slapped Oklahoma in the face. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it took them, shaking that off, that 21 point, or actually 28 point by the time we got the ball back in the second quarter. And then shook it off and went, "Oh, okay. Now we're in a game."
Yeah.
And if any Oklahoma fan, and I'm including myself in that, when we were down 28-0, if you did not think Oklahoma was going to lose this game 65-21, you're a liar, because every one of us, I know us two sitting here, this is horrible.
Well, I had to leave.
Yeah, Rob left the house. He's like, "I'm not going to watch that here."
I cannot do it.
But if you thought that game was, if you telling me that you thought at 28-0 we were going to lose by 11 points and have an opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter,
we could have just played some defense.
Yeah, in the third quarter we did play defense. We shut them out in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So we needed that one stop in that fourth quarter, or really we needed a couple of stops in the first quarter when our offense was out of sync. Mm-hmm. When, and I think some of the issue too with our offense, it didn't have all its weapons, and I think its biggest weapon being Hollywood Brown. Even though CD just balled out that game. But CD, Hollywood just wasn't himself. and there was a problem with that foot. How much of a problem, I don't know, but it was obvious because a guy with that much speed and that much talent, his head wasn't in that game, and I think it was
we only
because
threw at him twice. I think.
Yeah,
he was 0 for 2.
Yeah.
So,
but most of the time, but I mean, again, normal games, Hollywood's open more than 2 times. You know what I mean? That's my point. Is you only targeted him twice because he wasn't open. He wasn't open.
Yeah.
So, but now we're sitting here going, who's the quarterback? Because the classes start tomorrow, right?
Yes.
The classes start tomorrow. Austin Kendall has until Friday to be enrolled because there's late enrollment, but it has to be Friday. So if he's not in class by Friday, he's gone. He doesn't have a choice. If he does go to class, or he does enroll, go to class, then he has to wait until the summertime to do anything in the portal. So if he doesn't enroll by Friday and in class by Friday, he's gone. If Jalen Hurts doesn't come to Oklahoma, now we got Tanner Mordecai, who's a 3-star quarterback out of Waco, Texas, and Spencer Rattler, who is a 5-star number 1 quarterback in the country. I know that initially I've been like, man, is he big enough? If he's strong enough, can he go in here and take over the reins? And I was nervous about that, but you know what? A freshman quarterback just won the national title. Our buddy Jake from State Farm played in a national title game last year as a freshman. I'm not as worried about these freshmen anymore. These kids are coming in.
Well, yeah, I agree. Plus Spencer, I mean, it's not like he's not used to the stage. There in Arizona, I mean, he broke every record. He has had some shine on him. Yeah. So, and did you see those highlights that they were putting? I don't know who was putting them out. I've seen them on Twitter though, of him, Spencer Rattler throwing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got an arm.
Dude. I mean, he's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. In fact, he may beat Jalen Hurts out.
Yeah. I mean, I think he would have more of an opportunity if he was on campus right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, a lot of them are. There's several of the New Wave 19 guys that are sitting in their dorm rooms tonight, getting ready to start class tomorrow. It's putting him behind the 8 ball to be out there, come in July. But if you're the number 1 quarterback in the country with the skill set that it's obvious he has, it shouldn't be that much of a hindrance behind him to come in and make an impact. But and like you said, he may beat out Jalen. But I mean, if Hurts comes to Oklahoma in this situation right now, I believe maybe Lincoln Riley is wanting Jalen Hurts a little bit more than what he may have wanted him before. If nothing else, to give that, give that 1 year cushion to Spencer to kind of soak it in. Some people said that Hurts, all these quarterbacks have been in the tutelage of, for 2 or 3 years of Lincoln, and that's why they're so good. Possibly, but I think Lincoln's a pretty good coach and can sit a kid down and go, somebody with the skill set and can go, here's A, B, and C.
Yeah, so I think it would be a win-win no matter what for Lincoln Riley, because let's just say Spencer beats out Jalen Hurts, which would be pretty unfounded, I think, for a freshman to come in and beat out a 5th-year senior. But let's just say that happens. No, Jalen Hurts cannot go anywhere at this point.
Right.
He's done transferring.
Right.
He's at the University of Oklahoma until he finishes.
Right.
So now you've got Spencer Rattler, who's beaten out a 5th-year senior, but you still have a 5th-year senior's experience to lend to that freshman. Right. So either way it happens, it's a win-win for Lincoln.
Yeah, and and I think that's something that's important that we need to look at with Jalen Hurts and this decision. I mean, he's a championship caliber quarterback. Okay, he's been on championship, championship style teams. Alabama for 2 years. Yep. For 3 years, okay, been a part of those teams, an integral part of those teams. whether he's been on the bench the most of the time this year. But like we said, he did bring him back in the Georgia game and win that ball game for him.
The kid can play.
People are like, well, I think he was visiting. The word was he was going to be in Maryland last week, in Miami. This guy's not looking for somewhere where he can just go play football for one more year. He's looking for that opening that I can go in and make an immediate impact and help bring a team like what I've been on back into the spotlight.
Don't you got to wonder if he's sitting there thinking, okay, if I go to Oklahoma, I got a really good chance of meeting Alabama and beating Tua in a.
Yeah.
If I'm him, I'm thinking, you know what? I want to go somewhere where I can come back and whoop his butt for taking my job like that.
I know it's far fetched out there, but wouldn't it be hilarious if he comes to Oklahoma, wins a Heisman, and they beat it?
Oh my God! Oh, you know what the narrative would be then? Would be, oh, you can't win a national title without an Alabama quarterback.
Yeah,
something like that. But that would be if he came in and won a Heisman Trophy, that would just be. There would be no words.
Exactly. But again, back on that though, like what you said, you and Rhett talking today, with, the back-to-back Heisman winners, and especially the fact that it's back-to-back quarterbacks. It wasn't like you had a quarterback and then the next year you had your running back get it. This is the same position, the guy who took the guy's job.
Which is highly, highly unprecedented.
Yeah, the guy that comes in and takes over for the guy who won the Heisman and puts out better numbers than the guy who won the Heisman to win the Heisman again. Unheard of. But the point, my point being though on that is it's Oklahoma has got to turn that quarter, and it's going to be important to do so in the next 2 years because this is like I was talking about last year. This is Lincoln Riley's team now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, year one, Lincoln Riley was coaching Bob Stoops' team.
Mm-hmm.
Year two, Lincoln Riley was still kind of coaching Bob Stoops' team. Year three, he's not coaching Bob Stoops' team anymore. Why is that? Bob's defensive coordinator is gone. Lincoln had to fire him. There's a new staff should be coming in on the defensive side of the ball completely. There's probably going to be a starting quarterback that was not, even though Lincoln was the offensive coordinator and recruiting these guys, this is now the birth of Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma Sooners in 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said it before. He got the keys to the Ferrari. Well, there was nothing wrong with the Ferrari,
right?
When he took it,
it was still operational.
It was still operational, but he didn't have to change. He didn't have to change anything on that Ferrari. Well, now, he had some wear and tear on the back right tire, and had to get rid of that back right tire.
Well, you know what? It's kind of funny. You and I throughout the season, we're talking about the defense and how could it improve and what should be done to improve it. And one of the things that we said was that wholesale changes.
Yeah.
Well, the changes are coming in the coaching side instead of the
right.
Instead of switching to a 5-2 and blitzing every play, the wholesale changes are coming in the coaching part of that.
And I don't know what extent they can do things in the off season. I know that the quarterback and receivers can go out and play catch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the coaches can't be involved, but there's all these rules and regulations out there. But I'm really hoping that Coach Grinch has got somebody out there and said, okay, for the next 3 months, here's this big donut thing that they practice tackling on.
We're going to roll this.
We're going to roll this, and you tackle it. And if, wrap up, be physical, be strong, all those things. You can teach aggressiveness and get them aggressive. But you know what? If we got guys aggressive running downhill at these guys and throwing a shoulder at them, it's not going to do any good.
No, when you're 180 going against 280.
Right. I mean, you're not, you can't knock these guys down. You got to go out and tackle them. And if I know he has sit here and looked at tape of Oklahoma these last couple of weeks going, golly, they've been in position. They've been there to make the tackle. They just haven't made the tackle. Yeah. And, whatever you do in the first 3 or 4 years when you start playing, if he needs to get some, what's called Pop Warner coaches in there to teach tackling, 101 with these guys. Mm-hmm. If he coaches the way that they talk about him coaching, that's got to be his first attempt. Is if these guys don't wrap up, if they don't make tackles at the point of contact and let these guys run through tackles, nothing anybody's going to do is going to change it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can be in the right spot, you can be in the right hole, but if you're not going to bring the man down, you might as well not be in there because you're just in the way.
Yeah, and that's my deal. Is this offseason has got to be focused on, Lincoln has to put 100% total trust in Grinch and say, take care of this problem. Mm-hmm. And Grinch has got to have that ability to go, we're going to address tackling. We're going to become more aggressive. Here's these schemes and everything else. But you know what, guys? I'm going to put you in the position to win, but it's up to you to bring the guy down. If you can't tackle or you refuse to tackle, if you want to throw these little, titty bumps out there on these guys to knock them down, you're not going to play. Mm-hmm. Because it's no different if you'd put us out there. If we wouldn't be able to make the tackle because we couldn't get there. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't try.
Yeah, but these guys are getting there and not making the tackle. So what's the difference of bringing guys out of the crowd and going, hey, play defense? You're not going to do any worse than these guys because they can't tackle either. Any word on Twitter about the eyeballs yet, Rob? I saw you look at your phone. Is there anything?
I'm work's trying to call me.
Oh. But yeah, and we're recording this on Sunday, so there are those Twitter eyes out there, which is, Caleb asked me earlier today, hey, did you see the Twitter eyes? Yeah. What do you think it's for? I said, he goes, think it's Hurts, because he was supposed to be, word is he was here yesterday. Mm-hmm. Well, it's either Hurts or another defensive coach, because he did the eyeballs for Grinch, but.
I don't know if it's Grinch or who, but I guess we'll probably find out pretty quick, don't you think?
I would think so. I don't know what other player. I guess I know we still have several openings that we could fill, so maybe there's somebody out there, a new recruit that is out there that may be turning the corner. To come into Oklahoma here soon. I don't know. Again, we are not your recruiting source here, guys. We just
That's for sure. That's for sure. I'm looking through Twitter right now. I don't see anything.
And just bringing this up again since you're looking, Rob is the only person I know that has a. Now, granted, I don't know a lot of people that have used their Siri, but Rob's Siri has an English accent.
Yep.
A very nice English accent, too.
And she calls me Big Rob, too.
And she calls you Big Rob.
I kind of like that,
yeah. My Teresa just got an iPhone, and so she's been doing the Siri thing now, and hers isn't, does not have that English accent. Was that an option for you, Rob, or did you? Honestly,
Harry, you know how good I am at the whole computer stuff, so I don't know. That's just the way it was.
She just came built that way, huh?
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Is this Hurt still going to happen? Or?
Well, okay. So here's what Texas fans are saying.
Oh, good.
Are you ready for this? I'm just going to read it word for word.
Okay.
Let's see. One Texas fan says, suspected that, won't be surprised if Wonder Boy Riley, which they better watch it, that disrespecting our coach.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Starts his third consecutive transfer quarterback for the 2019 season. Lucky S.O. And then the guy behind him says, he's going to OU. We may as well just accept it now. Except what? That big L we're going to give you in October? And then if you make it to the Big 12 championship, the L we're going to give you there too? Tattoo Baker put that out, and I thought it was hilarious.
Or he retweeted it, that conversation between
it looks like he just copied it off of one of the Texas boards, which I don't know who's got time to go to somebody else's boards and read stuff, but apparently Tattoo Baker does.
That's hilarious. But yeah, it ought to be interesting. I mean, personally, I mean, I don't want to sit here and say I want it to happen. I don't see any bad that can come to it. Okay. I mean, he either comes and becomes an immediate impact and plays and does well, or Spencer Rattler or Mordecai win the job from him. Okay. I don't think that Mordecai can. Okay. I don't think Mordecai could beat out Rattler myself. I mean, again, you're talking about a 3-star quarterback, even though he's been in the system, 2 years now, or going to be 2 years. There's a difference in a 3-star and a 5-star.
For sure. There definitely is. But I wouldn't count him out. I mean, he's an athlete. He's been in the system. He's had, like Shay, he's had the Lincoln Riley tutelage. So, I mean, now eventually would Rattler be better? Probably.
Yeah.
But maybe not the first one.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's this transfer portal thing is really interesting, twist on college football that I kind of like, honestly.
Yeah, it gives us something to talk about.
I mean, just think, if it wasn't for this, we'd be sitting there going, if we can, and I like the new redshirt rule. I like the transfer. My thing is that, talking about the transfer portal, I mean, if you're a graduate transfer like Hurts, it's no big deal. Okay. You've got that extra year. You don't want to stay at the school you're at. I'm going to throw my hat out there. Now, if he was a sophomore or a junior and the same thing happened, he would have to sit out a year, or he could put in a request to the NCAA for, quote, hardship. Was it the Georgia quarterback? Yeah, the Georgia quarterback. Can't think of his name now. See, that's how quickly we forget. We were talking about the Georgia backup, put in a transfer. He would have to sit out a year, but he is appealed to the NCAA because there was a situation with the baseball team, because he's a baseball player too, that there was a racial slurs and a issue with another player. Okay. So he is using that as part of his, hey, I don't want to play here because I had this situation with another player on the team. I'm not comfortable. I don't like necessarily the way it's. I don't know what that process is. But when it would be more interesting is if they said, okay, we're going to take off that, you can transfer, but you got to sit out a year. You'll lose a year of eligibility. If the NCAA ever takes that out, that would make, I would like to see something like that happen, but I would like to say that you have to have X behind you. Okay. Like if you started, for instance, you can transfer. Okay. And you won't be required to sit out a year. If you played at least 6 games over the last 2 years, okay? But if you're a sophomore transfer and you haven't played and it doesn't look like you're ever going to get to start, yeah, you can transfer, but you're going to sit out a year. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Kind of make it more like, make them maintain that you got to be there at least 2 years or something like that. Because I don't know, maybe not. I mean, it's requiring a kid to have to sit out a year because, well, let's just say this. I mean, if you go to a school, if you go to Oklahoma and you come to Oklahoma this year and Lincoln Riley, which he's not going to do, Lincoln Riley takes a pro job in 2 years. You came to play for Lincoln Riley. And now you got to sit here and play for a coach, you know, that you may not even know, you know. I mean,
well, here's the thing. I don't think we need to make it easy for these kids to say, oh, I just don't like it here anymore. I'm jumping ship.
Yeah.
You know, because the university is investing in the kid, you know, into their education, into their future, you know, all those things. And for a kid to be able to just go, I'm done with that. You know, I want to go play here.
Yeah, I want to go somewhere else.
I don't think there needs to be some, I don't want to use the word penalty, but there needs to.
Well, that's what I said. There needs to be better protocol in it, is what I'm saying. You know, that not just like you said, a penalty to sit out a year, and that's the wrong word for it. But you know, here's the there needs to be a precedent saying, here is what's going to happen. You know, in order for you to transfer, you have to meet XYZ criteria.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That you know, if you haven't played, if you're a sophomore and you haven't played, and
it might be opening up a great big can of worms, but
you know,
I see what you're saying.
You know, if you've been, if you were injured in one of those 2 years, and some type of precedent that says you have to meet this criteria to transfer, and if you meet this criteria, then you don't have to sit out a year. But if you don't miss this criteria, you have to sit out a year, regardless of what it is. You know, and let's face it, you know, Jalen Hurts' situation, you know, how many times have you heard of a, you know, fifth-year quarterback, you know, going to be, you know, fifth year of eligibility, leaving the school that he was at? You know, that, you know, yeah, you can talk about that with linemen and maybe some cornerbacks and things like that. Happens a lot with offensive linemen and defensive linemen. But for a quarterback who played in 2 national title games and lost his job to Tua, and then going, okay, I got another year of eligibility, or a quarterback. I mean, you know, Baker got another year of eligibility. You know, he could have transferred.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy. I mean, the red shirt rule, the transfer rules now have made it a lot more interesting. But guys, this is what you're going to get through the rest of the year, is that we're going to be talking about the same thing that we talked about last year.
Throw some other stuff.
We'll throw some other stuff out there, but you know, we've got defensive woes that we're going to be taking care of. This quarterback discussion is going to be really interesting coming up to the, especially if Austin Kendall ends up transferring. We're sitting here without a quarterback, and if Jalen Hurts does not, now we're sitting here with a freshman and sophomore quarterback playing behind an offensive line that has one returning starter.
Yes, but you know, we're going to insert the number 1 offensive lineman in the country from last year.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we got some pretty big recruits in this year. So it's going to be young, no doubt about it. But they should be serviceable.
Yeah. And, you know, we're bringing in some of the top receivers that, almost said money can buy, but that's the wrong term, that people can recruit there.
Yeah, we don't want to say that.
But
did you see where the number 1 Oklahoma Sooner women's gymnastics team just took apart the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs?
No.
Of course, they're not going to lose a meet or match or whatever you call it, but the guys and the girls
still doing their thing.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. We are a juggernaut for gymnastics.
We're going to have to go to a gymnastics
There was one just the other day. I'll get you in.
Yeah, we need to.
It's impressive, and I'm not even kidding you. Even the women. I mean, nothing against women. They are strong.
Yeah.
I mean, the strength that those kids possess is ridiculous.
Yeah, but oh, there was one other thing. Now that I looked up at the TV and we're at the halftime. Well, who's winning this game, Rob?
Eagles.
Eagles. So now that your boys are out, who are you rooting for?
Oh, I'm gonna have to go with the Evil Empire.
What?
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to root for the Eagles for sure. I don't want to root for, let's see, who's left that I would
Kansas City.
God, I can't root for Kansas City.
You can't
do it. No, can't do that. I don't know.
You can't root for the Eagles. Nobody wants to root for New Orleans. So,
yeah, I guess I'd have to root for the
yeah.
Evil Empire New England Patriots.
Here is a stat I about fell out of my chair yesterday when I heard it. Did you know that the Kansas City Chiefs have never hosted a championship game?
No, did not know that.
There's never been the conference championship game played in Kansas City. They've always gone away. They played elsewhere. That's never happened in Arrowhead Stadium. And Arrowhead Stadium is old as I am, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, Kansas City played in the first Super Bowl, right?
Yep. That's I've been I'm not going to ever I like the Chiefs, always have. Now, of course, when they play the Steelers, I don't there's no controversy there. But we all have our secondary and teams and
people you like to watch.
Yeah, I like the Packers. I like the Bears.
I like the Bears.
I like the Chargers. Dolphins. So
don't like the Dolphins,
but
don't like the Chargers. I don't like any coast team really.
I've never liked Seattle. I've never liked New Orleans. Never liked the Eagles. Never been a Giants fan either. Jets, back when I just went blank. Gastineau was there.
Oh.
Good old East Central University. A greater Aider.
Well, I started watching the Eagles a little bit when Randall Cunningham was there. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was a dynamic player. I really liked him. And I don't know. I liked Atlanta for just a little while when they had Jamal Anderson.
Yeah.
He was a pretty dynamic back. But, obviously when I was a kid growing up, it was Houston Oilers. And then, of course, they went and became the Tennessee
Titans.
Tuxedos or some stupid something. So, I was just mad at everybody then. So
yeah.
And then I think that was right around the time that, the Cowboys were winning everything.
Yeah.
And of course, that's all you could watch as a kid in Oklahoma was the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Yeah, back in our day before we had, satellite TV and could choose, it was, and it was, you either had to watch the Cowboys or the Chiefs. And that's probably why I'm a Chiefs fan too, because this market, growing up in this market,
that's all you got.
Yeah, you watched, you watched the Cowboys, and then when you switched to the other game, you watched the Chiefs.
And then when it was baseball season, all you got was the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah,
which is funny that you didn't get the Atlanta Falcons. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, come on, what's up?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I guess that's maybe why I do have a fondness for the Chiefs, because they're probably my second favorite team.
Oh yeah,
I remember when when they got geez, just went blank.
Christian Okoye.
Oh, Christian Okoye was a bad dude too.
The Nigerian Nightmare.
Yeah,
is that what they called him?
Yeah. Joe Montana and the running back. Man, I'm drawing a complete blank. Teresa could tell you because she loved the Chiefs during that time. But he played for the Raiders. The running back won a Super Bowl with the Raiders.
Let me think here. You talking about?
God, I'm stupid.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name either.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a big deal that Montana went there, and Montana still had good years left. He never won anything, never won a championship there, but he still played some good ball there with the Chiefs. Got them into the playoffs, and
that was quite a team they had in San Francisco when Roger Craig and Jerry Rice and
oh man,
yeah, that was quite a team.
Well, I was watching the Evil Empire game earlier with the Patriots, and Edelman just became the number 2 receiver for catches in the postseason. Okay, and I think he has like 91. No, 95. It was 94. He was tied 94. Of course, Jerry Rice is number one. It's like 188 catches in the postseason. So he's basically, doubled what number 2 is.
All right.
But Edelman just became the number 2 receiver, with receptions in the playoffs. So, yeah, Jerry Rice was amazing. But like I said, that team, the Niners during that era were with Montana and Rice, and I'm trying to think of their running. Yeah, well, Roger Craig, he was a running back, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the big tight end that beat your Cowboys, I can't think of his name either.
Dwight Clark?
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
That name is etched in.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those are some good teams. But
good teams back then, yeah.
But anyway, guys, we still, this is kind of a, winging it podcast because just so much went on last week. But we're working on getting the fans back on, which will probably happen in February. We're working on some stuff in the upcoming weeks. And our YouTube stuff, we're growing with that and getting better with that. So you can be expecting a lot more stuff to come, here in the next couple of weeks from us.
So we're closing it up here?
We're closing up here.
So let me just get your take then.
Oh,
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
Are you for it or against it?
I see. Show me a bad side to it if he comes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even with Austin Kendall here, what's the saying? Iron sharpens iron.
That's actually scripture.
No, okay. Well, okay, Rob.
Sorry.
Well, but you hear a lot of players now saying that, and they're not quoting scripture all the time, okay?
They don't know it, but they are. It was written over 2,000 years ago.
But anyway, the best coming in, it can only help. You know what I mean? Yeah, there might be some feelers hurt, and apparently there are feelers hurt because of the talk of it. But Lincoln's job is to win ball games. Okay, that's his job. That's what he's being paid to do.
Yeah. And
if that means getting Jalen Hurts to come in, Lincoln Riley's going to do that. I'm a fan. You're a fan.
Yep.
We're huge fans. If I cannot see a negative behind this, some of the fans was like, "We don't need him. It'll only cause a controversy." I'm sorry. You're bringing in a quarterback who's played in 2 national title games. Okay. I don't know what the problem is with that.
I don't either. If there was a problem, it would be that he's taking a scholarship that we could maybe use for some defensive guy.
Yeah, but I mean
that's the only problem I see with it.
But if he comes in and another, let's say Spencer Rattler beats him out, so what? Maybe he's the reason why Spencer Rattler, I beat him out. I don't know. But you bring in that caliber of an athlete, it's going to do nothing but make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody, is he an automatic Heisman contender if he comes here next year?
No.
You don't think he is?
I think no. He might work his way into it.
You don't think he sneaks into some of the conversations?
He'll be conversation just simply because he's Lincoln Riley's quarterback.
Okay.
With experience, he will be in the conversation. But, me, what I talked about, and I still feel this way even with this year, even with the offensive line. I think our offense is fine. I just have that much confidence in Lincoln Riley. I don't think it's a system that he runs. I just think his coaching is so much different than anybody else's. He puts his players where they benefit each other and benefit the team, and his schemes are designed to do it. And not that others aren't, but I've just seen stuff with Lincoln Riley that he does that it's design. It's a ghost in the machine type deal. We're going to do this, it's almost to me it feels like almost every play that Oklahoma runs is like they run a reverse, but it's not a reverse. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
It's deceptive. He's a deceptive offensive mind.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets you to thinking, oh, you're going to do this, or we're going to move this way. But when in reality, he's got something backdoor. Now, everybody can go, well, that's every offensive coordinator.
Not really, no.
It's not. I mean, you have a scheme to do. Lincoln's design is to be deceptive at all times. And I think whatever quarterback you put back there, yeah, I mean, we have a Heisman, Kyler Murray, great athlete, maybe one of the best athletes we've ever had play at Oklahoma.
Oh, probably, yeah, absolutely.
I think any quarterback we'd have had in there would have had the same results, but not a Heisman Trophy winner. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That makes sense. I mean, we're not going to have a Heisman Trophy quarterback every year, but I think we're going to have a championship caliber offense every year.
Yeah, I think so too. But you know what? It goes back to what the Gary from TCU, what's his name, Gary Patterson. They ran the same play out of 10 different sets.
Right.
And they were successful every time.
Right.
So that's Lincoln Riley's offense.
Right. And until you study the tape and see that and see his tendencies, and even though there aren't really any tendencies there, it's that type of mentality that I'm talking about, and that you're talking about. He's different than anybody else that's out there.
Yeah.
The way he coaches, and there's a reason why. I think it's kind of funny though. We all kind of like got warm-hearted and said, "Oh, thank you, Coach Saban." When it came out that when he was getting ready to go up on the podium, Chris Fowler was standing there, and Chris Fowler said that Nick said to him, "This is the toughest offense I've ever had to prepare for." Mm-hmm. And
now, if we could just get a defense to match it.
Yeah, and we all felt warm-hearted and stuff, and then Clemson goes out and throws 45 on them, and it was like, well, maybe he used up all of his mentality trying to take care of Oklahoma, and he couldn't take care of Clemson. Maybe that's it. But
honestly, I wish he would have had just a week to prepare for us instead of the month that he had to prepare for us, and
yeah, because I mean, I think that has to be all that time to prepare for Oklahoma, and Oklahoma again is a different type of offense that you got to prepare for, and the different type of schemes that they run, and then all of a sudden you got to switch your mindset back and go, okay, a more traditional type of run pass offense that isn't going to be as dynamic running plays. But I mean, basically Clemson just lined up after the first quarter and wore them out.
Just whipped them. Sure did.
Because I was sitting here looking at halftime going, yeah, this game, Alabama's going to be up 7 going into halftime. Alabama got in the red zone 3 times and came out with nothing.
I know.
So,
which is really strange because that back, I'm telling you, Jacobs is good.
Yeah.
Well, all their backs are good.
Yeah. It was crazy. So, but anyway, folks, that's the podcast for today. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Remember to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, check out our webpage at www.soonerfootballfans.com, and we will talk to y'all later. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Jerry.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans podcast. Hit the subscribe button right now on whatever app you're listening to download every episode as they come out. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook and on YouTube. Boomer Sooner.